welcome to On the Spot. My name is Ronnie Wiley. To my left is Chris Lovett, better known as Preach, right?
Yeah, Preach.
Of Crosspointe Biker Church. Chris, glad to have you on the show. Been trying to get you on here for a while, but you've been a busy guy. But before we get into how busy you are, before we get into what you do, let's talk about you and what got you to Christ and how did Crosspointe start?
Well, back in 1999, I met my wife here in town and Tracy Fisher at the time. And we got married in 2000, started going to Calvary Baptist Church, started a motorcycle ministry in Calvary, and couldn't get some of the bikers to come. So then we stepped out with 3 other couples and started Crosspointe in our basement.
Yeah, wow.
With 18 people, and went up on top of the hill when my house wasn't big enough to handle the crowd. And then God laid the old Fuzzy Lake building in our lap, and it's been a ride for sure.
Definitely has been a ride. You do a lot for the community. And before we get into that, when did that, I mean, obviously you're setting that, 20 years ago, you're setting in Calvary. You didn't imagine any of this happening, did you? Or did you feel the call from the beginning?
Well, no. I grew up on motorcycles, riding in the mountains of Colorado with mom and dad, and even my grandma rode.
Oh, wow. There you go.
I've always had a motorcycle underneath me and riding, and just that's been a pastime I've had. Didn't really get into riding street bikes till probably I moved up here when I got my first one.
Oh, wow.
So,
I crashed my moped when I was 14, and that's done it for me. I've been just a passenger ever since. So you decide. I mean, you're there, and you're at Calvary, and you're feeling the Spirit. You're growing in the Lord. When you first stepped out on your own, how was that feeling when you were like, okay, we're gonna really start this?
Well, when we went down to we started praying about it. Obviously, we went down to my uncle's in Oklahoma. And started praying about it. And on my way home, my wife's like, she was excited, ready to start a Bible study. And I said, no, I think we're going to start a church.
Oh, wow.
And so that Sunday was our first Sunday. We started in the basement. We had up to, I think, 38 coming in the house.
Wow.
And then we moved when Higher Praise moved out into their new facility. We took over their place there on 5th Street. And it's been a ride for sure. I was a little bit apprehensive because I'm not college educated as far as being a pastor. Never been to Bible school, but it's one of the things that God calls the people that
He feels the call.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you felt. I mean, and I'm sure you've grown. I'm sure. I there's no doubt that as and I know with myself, it seems like I never feel adequate enough.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's like, this is what I got to do. When you're there with 38 people and now you're with, hundreds, I mean, I'm sure it's still an amazement that
I get butterflies in my stomach every time I walk on stage. I really do. I want to say the first thing is there's no way that I could have done anything like this. It's been God the whole way. It wouldn't have happened without Him.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when you guys are down in the basement, 38 people, and growing, and when, I mean, obviously things start in phases. You didn't just come out of have 400 or 500 people. How many people go to your church now?
Before COVID, we were running about 325, something like that.
Yeah. So with COVID, it's really done a mess on people. Still, either online or try to get in person. There is social distancing. Come to church. When you're there with 38 people, and now your ministry is expanded. I mean, you guys just don't do stuff here in town. You do all over the place. We got a hurricane. We were talking off the air. We got a hurricane going on down there in Louisiana. You were just there.
Right.
Again, going all the way back to when you started. What was the date that you guys started? Do you remember?
The start of the church?
Yeah.
We started 2009, last weekend in December.
Wow. So this is coming up on 11 years now that you guys have been a church, and you've grown so much. So let's now talk about the ministries that you guys do, because during COVID, we saw you guys all over town. How did that start?
Well, the mayor called me, and he said, I got a little bit of money. He said, would there be any way we could take that money and feed the community? Of course, when it comes to feeding, that's the best. That's the one thing that at Crosspointe, that's what we're good at.
Right.
And
I've been to the fair.
yeah, so we in March started feeding the first week. I got on Facebook and started trying to raise money, and our community is awesome.
Right.
I love our town. Right. I don't care what anybody says. Right. This is my transplanted, because I'm from Oklahoma.
Me too.
It just went down uphill from there. We started collecting money, and ended up at the end of the, I think it was 9 weeks we fed.
Yeah.
We fed 65,000 meals right here in our own town. Never did I ever think that we would be doing disaster relief in our own town.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because you've done disaster relief in other towns, and here you are now doing it here in Connersville. How has that, when you guys started the disaster, what was your first relief that you guys did?
The first time we went down to Louisiana, we've got a video out on YouTube right now, and it goes through our whole couple years. We started down in Louisiana, Walker, Louisiana. That was our first one. We went down with PTC, Pastor Ron Russell.
Right,
we didn't know we didn't even know what we was doing.
Right.
We grabbed my little orange trailer and filled the deep freeze full of meat. Went down there and fed for a week. God ended up blessing us with 320 chairs that they had thrown away. We brought them back and fixed them up, and that's what we use in our sanctuary now. But that's where we started. We were feeding somewhere around 400 or 500 a day down there.
Wow.
Most of them were workers that was working in the community trying to help.
Right.
That was our very first one.
And was it something that did Ronnie ask you to do it, or was it something that God said, hey, and here's the people we're going to put you in?
Ronnie called, and of course we're real close with him. He did our dedication when we moved into our new building.
Yeah.
Me and him have been very good friends for years.
Great man.
But he called and he said, what do you think about feeding some people? Because they were going down to have a chainsaw crew or work on houses, helping tearing out all the debris and the wet stuff out so that the houses didn't mildew. And that's how we got started, just by him saying, you want to go feed?
You're like, yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah,
there you go. And at that point in the church, I mean, how was it a hard sell to get people to go, or was people like jumping?
Well, I'll tell you what, finances has always been a struggle for us. We aren't a rich church, but our community backs us. I called a church down in Oklahoma. It was my uncle's biker church, and I said, would y'all like to sponsor us? Because I didn't have the $1,000 to make it to Walker. And he sponsored us, and he's done it many times. But that's how it started. We went, and in essence, they give us the money to get down there. Ronnie and them had some food. We had some food, and we just took it down, and that's how it started. It was. It's a very humble ministry.
Sure, yeah. Well, you got to rely on God for everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously the key to do that. So when you go down there the very first time, and this was your first time doing outside ministry, what was your reaction to the response from those that you were helping?
Well, the people that we've helped through all of our disasters, when they get in line, they walk up and ask us, because you're feeding people that are driving 60,000 cars, along with people that have $600 cars.
Right.
And so it's all walks of life, and they come up and they're very humble. They don't know what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Are they supposed to buy it? Are we giving it? They're really in a humble state, and it's amazing to go down and watch, be able to impact people's lives just by food.
Oh yeah.
And it's.
Yeah, well, they say food's what to a man's heart's to his stomach. So,
right. As you can tell.
It adds more than 10 pounds, I think, or it's an optical illusion. So you guys, again, go out, and we got to hurt. You guys were out a couple weeks ago, weren't you?
Right.
We got another one coming up.
2 weeks ago, it's kind of a funny thing. I got up in front of the church 3 weeks ago, and I said, guys, I'm not asking for money. I want you to start praying to see if God's leading us to go to Hurricane Laura down in Moss Bluff, and I had no idea where I was going.
Right.
All the phone lines were down. You couldn't get a hold of anybody in the town. I got a hold of one church, and they said we're full, and really didn't have time to elaborate on it because they were obviously knee deep in trying to help people.
Sure.
So I've got a friend in the church. that Brent Lanehart, he was down working. He's a lineman machine operator. And I told him, I said, Brent, can you get a phone number, go by a church, whatever you got to do? And he said, I'll try to. So I kept on calling with no avail, and he got a hold of pastor down there, Pastor Jared Pugh at Pentecostal Church down there in Moss Bluff. And I called Jared and I said, we're going to come. But before I called him, I had the church praying. My mom calls me down there from Duncan, Oklahoma, and she said the pastor just got off stage, come down and asked me, he says, Chris going to the hurricane? She said, well, I would imagine.
Right.
So when she called me, I said, Mom, that was an answered prayer, because I didn't know if he asked. They ended up being a very big part financially, sending us. And when I got the pastor's name, I had his last name wrong and his first name wrong. So when I called him, and I called him by somebody he didn't even know, he's like, I'm a pastor, but that ain't the right one.
Right.
So got to talk to him, encouraged him. Think about this. If a guy calls and says, I'm going to bring 15,000 meals,
yeah, wow.
We're going to stay 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just find us a place to park our trailers.
Right.
I said, you need to go on Facebook and vet me.
Right.
Make sure I'm not just some crazy guy. So he got online and he listened to one of our messages here in Connersville, and I called him back about 3 days before we were coming. And I said, the reefer trailer full of the 15,000 meals. I think I took 13 and we ended up stretching it to 15, but I said, it'll be there in 2 days. He said, that's the point. I knew you was coming. Because they have a lot of people that come down and take a case of water and hand it to you and take a picture and smile real big.
And then they're gone.
And then they're gone. So when we got down there, the first week it's very tough. They had no electric. They had running water we had to boil. The sewer system was backed up. There was sewer running across just the parking lot. It was just really, it's a disaster. I mean, it's So we get down there, and the first day we feed 2,800 people. Wow. On the video on YouTube, there was people 3 miles long.
Wow.
The police were having to set at the intersections because they had the lights running by generator to help people get out of the way so traffic could flow. So at the end of the week, we fed 15,000 people.
Wow.
And I only took 13,000 meals.
Wow.
So the second week,
God knows how to stretch it.
Absolutely.
Remember the loaves and the fishes.
Yeah, that's what we were praying for, because you can only take so much.
Right, sure.
You can't.
Yeah.
And I had 3 trailers packed full.
Yeah. Wow.
So we get down there for the second week, and 5 days is about all that a person can handle mentally.
Right, sure.
You
got
there
14.
Yeah, we got people that's coming through the line asking for cold drinks when the only cold drinks we have is for the people working.
Oh, wow.
I was buying 30 bags of ice trying to keep our drinks cool enough because the first week was really, really hot.
Sure.
So I sent one group home on Friday, and Saturday and Sunday we're supposed to feed, but I only got 5 people.
Oh, wow.
The next group coming in is my uncle. He's coming Sunday night.
Right.
That pastor had just lost their head deacon. It was his best friend, and he was, struggling just to get ready for the funeral and everything on Saturday. And he gave a shout out to 2 different churches. And on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we had probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 people that come out to help us feed their community. Yeah. So the second week, we had a butane place down there that give us all of our LP for free. That was about $4,000 for the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was telling you earlier, if you want to know how they feel, go out and turn all your electric off.
Yeah.
About 3 days, open up all your refrigerators and freezers so you get that smell.
Get that good smell. Yeah.
Then shut your house up because the ceiling's wet.
Right.
Because of the hurricane.
Right.
Shut your house up, walk outside and get your garden hose and wet down everything in your house.
And then live
beds,
that way.
couches, TVs, all of it.
And there's no plumbing.
No.
Yeah. So you can imagine the smell from that.
Yep. So then live in that they've been doing it for probably 32, 36 days.
Yeah, and they're getting ready to get
still
hit
there
again.
now. Yeah.
Getting ready to get hit. And what part of Louisiana is this in?
Moss Bluff.
Moss Bluff. And is that down towards the Gulf?
Yep. It's about 60 miles east of Texas.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's what, between New Orleans and Texas, right? Somewhere around there?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And they're getting ready to get hit again.
Yep.
We got a hurricane out there.
Saturday night is when it's supposed to hit.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm kind of in a position where you don't know what to do.
Right.
Do you try to? Obviously, we want to help them. Our community has been amazing. We've only went twice in 3 weeks, one time.
Wow.
2 years ago, we went to North Carolina, waited a week, and then went to Florida.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
So,
you guys were out quick. Yeah.
So we're still trying to raise money because any of that money goes towards buying supplies, buying stuff that we can get. It was really hectic down there because they shut the town down at 6 o'clock. There was only one restaurant open. It was Mexican food, which was good for me.
Right. Yeah.
Because I can eat Mexican every day if you know me. But
right, yeah.
But that was the only place open. So we would go there after you feed green beans. We probably opened 600 cans.
Oh, wow.
That's 600 gallons of green beans,
sure.
corn, baked beans,
right.
pork and beans.
Right.
So you can imagine at night you'd like to go sit down and find something.
Yeah.
But at 6 o'clock they shut down. Our generators, we were buying 15 5-gallon cans a day, trying to keep all the generators running. In the middle of the night, 3 or 4 in the morning, your generator would stop, hooked up to the trailers. You'd have to go out and fill it up, then go back to bed. We were sleeping about 5 hours a night.
Yeah, you guys probably weren't doing that much sleeping.
Yeah. So you do that for a week, plus you got the mental of watching the little kids and coming in. So yeah, it's been just crazy what was going on down there. But so we're gonna switch the ministry just a little bit, try to go with a bigger diesel generator that can run off the semi. And so there's always stuff we're having to buy or raise money to buy.
Right.
So it's just been it's a tough spot.
You guys are a working church. You know, I always say every Sunday before we leave, let's go out and be the church. You guys are. You're being the church.
Yeah.
And I always try to look at it. Your ministry is you guys are helping people. You're feeding people. You're providing them hope. You don't know how much that meal means to somebody.
Yeah.
Before you got saved and when you were first walking with Jesus, somebody help you that way? Is that why you are so drawn into doing that?
Well, my personality, I tell people I don't like to be the center of attention, and I really don't like to be around people. But that's a lie, because if there's something going on, I want to be in the I want to be the first one to do whatever it is.
Right.
If one church does something, I want to do something different that is even bigger.
Right.
Because I'm a people person.
Right.
My relationships mean the most to me.
Right. Sure.
I will go a long ways not to tear one down.
Right.
Not to lose it. And the people that know me, I just want to be around people.
Yeah.
So feeding them that's the best way to get to people.
Sure.
That's how we've raised our church.
You're right, yeah.
I mean, we started doing funeral meals and funerals.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, we did 50-some funerals in a year.
Wow.
And we fed even more than that.
Right.
We fed, I think, 3 different families the last 2 weeks just from loved ones.
How come you're not 400 or 500 pounds? I'm already gaining weight.
Well, I had to quit. Yeah. I could be. Hang a watch.
So you guys, again, the ministry is just fabulous. You guys are out and about. I remember the first time you guys did the fair. I mean, you guys were providing free food for the fair workers.
We do. We feed the carnival workers stuff that we would eat at home in today.
Right.
Steaks.
Yeah.
Not carnival food because that's what they get all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you see that makes me want to go work there and to get the food there. You guys have a wonderful ministry out and about. But people sometimes, the biker church, I think sometimes the most active churches I've ever been around have been biker churches. Obviously, you're a biker, but not everybody who goes to church is a biker.
No, probably 60% of our congregation doesn't ride. They just like because we're a doer.
Yeah.
That's what we're called to do in the Bible, and that's what we do. But
Yeah.
if you look, church aside, who do people go to when they have a child that's got a disease, or a child that's fixing to pass because of cancer, or somebody that's dying in a nursing home and wants to take a last ride because they never got to ride when they was young?
Yeah, right.
The United States goes to the bikers first to raise money.
Yeah, that's right. Poker runs.
You name it, they do it, and that's just where they go. And you got to do what God's called you to do, and what He has given you the ability to do.
Right, exactly.
I can weld, I can run heavy equipment, but I think that our best suited thing that Crosspointe knows how to do is feed people.
Yeah, or your love for people.
Yeah,
I mean that's got to be it, and I can see it.
we when the mayor called us and we were thinking about what to do, we fed 65,000 meals when we fed the 9 weeks.
Yeah.
When we're down in Moss Bluff, when we come home, we fed 28,000 down in Moss Bluff.
Right.
I started a new ministry. It's not tied to the church, called Samaritan's Saddlebag. It's a food ministry that we shifted everything in. We go pick up every 2 weeks from Dot Foods, bring it back, and we're feeding somewhere between 300 to 450 families every 2 weeks out of the Kmart parking lot.
Right.
So we have fed this year, since March, over 100,000 meals to people.
That's amazing.
And most of it was in our community.
Yeah, and that's very important, because a lot of times it starts here,
Right.
so you can expand out. Are you thinking about going overseas?
No, I tell everybody
Has
in a
anybody brought that
laughing
up to
thing.
you?
They're like, you want to go to Guatemala or go to Mexico? I'm like, man, God's called me to stay in the States and do
Right.
this.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, He calls us where we're supposed to be at.
Ronnie Russell can go over and play across the pond, and I'm just, that's not my deal.
Right. Yeah.
I get over there, I'm afraid I may not be able to come home.
Right. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
So again, you guys have all kinds of ministries there, and of course we've got Justin in there making us look good.
Yeah, but he's amazing.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
Yeah. You guys have a fantastic. Justin, I'm going to ruin it. Undeserved, right?
Absolutely.
That's the band. Yes,
Absolutely.
I always want to call it something else.
The guy's doing amazing. I couldn't have put it together. I mean, God has led them to the church, and
Justin lives, out of town now.
He drives an hour every Sunday and working here, and he puts his time in for sure.
So if somebody's never been to your church, which is over there at Fuzzy Lake's old building, Fuzzy, a good friend of mine from years and years ago, he's taught me a whole lot. What can they expect when they walk through the doors at Crosspointe?
If you used to close your eyes and walk into Crosspointe, you're gonna get the same thing as if you walked into Calvary, wherever. We use the same Bible.
Yeah, right.
We sing the same songs.
Yeah.
The only thing different is this is my attire.
I like that.
365 days a year. You may see people in shorts, people in whatever. But that's the only difference you're going to see.
I used to always give my testimony, and I'd give it, and at the very end, I'd say, when I accepted Jesus, I would say, "Do you know what I wore?" And they go, "No," and I say, "Neither do I. I don't remember." Come as you are.
Yeah,
that's what I tell
absolutely.
everybody. Come as you are. That's how you're supposed to. So you guys have been there. Who are some of the mentors? Speaking of Fuzzy Lake, he obviously is a big mentor for me. Who's some mentors that you had when you started out in the ministry?
Well, my uncle has been Billy Morgan in Freedom Biker Church in Oklahoma has been a big one. But growing up as a child, there was one pastor that I grew up. He was my pastor until I was probably 19 or 20. His name was Curtis Ledbetter. He was a traditional pastor, but he went out to the bars. He would go and meet with people. He was just a good friend to everyone, and that's how he kept his ministry going for years and years. His compassion was over the top, and one day I hope I have that much. He was a huge mentor. My grandpa Lovett was a huge mentor to me. He worked in the church, labored, just giving his time and taking care of finances and stuff. And Those are probably the top three.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you remember the date that you accepted Christ?
I got saved as a kid. I was about 14 years old. I went through a divorce, and decided that I'm married to preacher's daughter. It didn't work. I'm gonna go on the other side and see what happens. So I chased. I got many friends here. I got some at the church that they're like, "Can you imagine we used to drink so much back in the day?"
Right.
But,
Yeah.
and now we're serving Jesus and together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
So back in 97, 98, probably, maybe about that.
Mine was 97 too.
We started going back to Crosspointe or to Calvary. I rededicated my life to Christ, and it's history from there.
It's amazing. And I mean, I look back at my life, and I think, gosh, it's almost like talking about a movie that I had talking about a character that I don't relate to that anymore. And I'm sure you can get that too. And I'm sure sometimes, as always, we have people coming up from our past that don't know, and like, I remember when you. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
How do you respond to all that?
Well, a lot of people in their life, they're like, man, I'm just mortified at the way I used to act, and I want to give a 5-minute testimonial.
Please.
And then I want to give a 10-minute look what God did.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we need to switch that so that we don't talk so much about what we did,
what God did,
as to what God did,
yes,
and brought us.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. That's how it is.
Yeah.
That's why I want to tell people, that no matter what you've done, you're never too far away from what God can do for you.
Right.
You can't run away far enough, and you can't do anything to earn it. I'm sure that's your message every Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to add, talking about trying to go, I have no idea whether we'll go to, Moss Bluff again if it does hit, but I would love for I want our community, people that live outside of here that loves Connersville, to know that we're taking donations 365 days a year. It takes about 10 to 15,000 a week when we go. And they can go on our webpage, crosspointebikerchurch.com, or they can send check or drop money off at the church at 1130 East Baseline Road. All that money goes, if they so desire for it, to take care of the food ministry and going and helping people that are less fortunate.
Absolutely. How does somebody who, man, I want to be a part of this. I'm not part of Crosspointe, but I want to be a part of this. And I want to donate my time as well. How do they get a hold of you?
You can call me at the church's number at 765-265-7751. We're a small enough church that's actually my cell phone.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go.
It's been that way for years. So they can call. We'll put you on the list. Kind of go through the motions because it is brutal.
Yeah. And again, people, I can handle this, but you're there for 2 weeks, and the average person only can last 5.
Yep.
Do you have a team that rotates in and out?
Well, we did this year, this first time, and it worked very, very well.
Yeah. Are you there the entire 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to drive the semis and make sure. I called my insurance company and I said, I got everything I own on the road these next 2 weeks, so do I need to do anything different?
Yeah. Chris, we could talk to you for days. I mean, we got to get you coming back in here to catch up and see what you're doing. You got a wonderful ministry. God bless you guys very much there. Any last words in the last 35 seconds?
Hey, as I stop all my YouTube videos, Jesus loves you and so do we.
Yes, he does. We'll catch you next month on The Spot.